So I have now been working on this project for the past 63 days, and I've filmed this video 5 different times and then majorly messed something up. So here we go again. The goal of this video is we're trying to upgrade these air ducts that I made for the front bumper of my E46. All I did was I laid carbon fiber in, so they're really crappy looking, extremely lumpy, and they were kind of functional. Oh, not anymore. They had a thing on it to direct the air kind of towards the brakes or whatever. Race cars have them. I'm just doing it for looks. So my goal is to remove these ones. And then in the last video, I designed and 3D printed these ones to make a mold out of. So that way I can use this to lay carbon fiber on and make actual nice ones that kind of look like that. Now the goal of doing it this way is because one, these ones looked really bad and it was kind of ghetto the way that I made them. And two, I wanted to have a repeatable process so that way I can have this mold. If I break mine, I can make more, or if any of y'all wanted some for your car, then I could make them. But like I said, I've messed up an insane amount of times trying to make this video, which is just, I feel like I'm wasting my time at this point. It's been 3 months working on something for my front bumper, and I'm supposed to be putting in the 6-speed and an M3 rear end in the car and then turboing it, so I'm like, I feel like I'm not getting anything done. So with messing up so many times, I've decided to go out and do something completely insane, and instead of copying other people completely like usual, I'm gonna follow my own process. So a couple changes that I made, instead of doing like a gel coat type mold that most people do. So I'm finding out what happens when you don't let the gel coat sit long enough. It's like peeling up right. With how shitty this looks, these are going to be absolute one-of-one parts. I just decided I would print the mold onto a stand like this. So it's basically, this is the mold, and then I've poured epoxy over it to make it smoother and more of an actual mold. So with this mold, if you want to copy this, the biggest pain in the ass that I came into contact with was the mold trying to stick. It would want to stick down in the crevices and up here. So then I would be left trying to cut the part out of the mold and not break the mold that takes 10 hours to print, and then the epoxy on top of it that takes 5 hours to cure. Somehow just cut myself on the finger that I cut after I cut it. So I also just cut the finger next to the finger next to the finger that I cut. So as far as mold release goes, my biggest tips are: 1, put hot glue in all the corners and the edges, mold release wax, and then a bunch of thin layers of PVA, which is like a liquid that dries into a film, and it kind of helps it keep the parts separated. So once I got through a couple of my iterations of messing up, the next part of the process is just like making any other carbon fiber or fiberglass part. You mix resin, put it onto the mold, then you lay the carbon fiber, and then next what I had to put on was this like nylon cloth and then some breather film and put it in a vacuum bag. And don't ask me why I do the nylon cloth or the breather cloth, because at the end of the day, I'm just copying other people's processes and that's something everyone else said to do. So once I end up with my part out of the vacuum bag, I also took a couple of the ones that I screwed up, like this one, but I measured these ones how I want it to fit in the bumper. So I've got these as templates. So like I said, if I want to make more of these, then I could just use the template. I don't have to take mine off the bumper and then fit the other one to the bumper to be able to figure out how it fits. So I take the part off the mold, put the template around it. I'll use a marker and mark up where I want to cut it with a Dremel, and then the last thing is just spraying it with some clear coat for some added like UV protection. I don't want it yellowing or anything like that. So the last step was super easy. All I had to do was tape some double-sided tape along the edge and then drop them in. I might also come through in the future and do some silicone around the back edge just to make it sealed completely, but I wanted to test them out the way that they are, and here they are. And as you guys know, we always like, anytime we finish a project, we got to test them out. So let's test these out real quick, see how they work. So I'm extremely happy with the way that they came out, honestly. It was a pain in the ass, but it's also pretty cool. The way that I angled them, they're facing more in, which is super important because if you want to add ducting back there, you actually can, and you're going to be able to route them back without running into the wheel. But the most important part about this video to me is one of the big things I want to be able to do on this channel is whenever we make cool parts like this or whatever we're doing, I want to be able to offer it to you guys for as cheap as I possibly can, just so that you guys can have some and you watch the process on how they're made. So I'm going to be making a couple of them, and I'll put a link in this video on where you can get some if you want some. I don't think too many people are going to want them, but at the end of the day, if they do, I might have to take the link down because unfortunately right now I don't have all the time in the world to be making them, but I wanted to offer them. So whoever does want them, get them while you can. And another disclaimer, if you do want some and you're going to order some, these are not the most perfect carbon fiber pieces in the world. Unfortunately, I'm not a carbon fiber sweatshop, but I do think they look good for being, it's a real piece of carbon and they're super lightweight, especially compared to the crappy ones I made before. And for the price, I'm just doing them for $100 because I feel like that's fair, especially compared to the other ones that don't look as good in my opinion that are out there that for whatever reason they want an insane amount for. And these are real carbon and most of the other ones aren't. So yeah, I think we got through all the disclaimers. They're not perfect. I was also gonna say real quick how to install them if you want some. First, you gotta take off the fog light because who needs to see in the fog when you could have a cool carbon piece on your bumper? And then second, this is where I feel like I'm gonna lose the most people who want them. You have to take the nicest serrated knife you can find in your knife drawer and then cut off that piece where you bolt the fog light onto. I get it if you don't wanna do it, but at the same time, it's just an M3 bumper. They're super common and cheap, aren't they? And then third, just take off the backing to the tape, stick it on, and just make sure that you get it all the way on there. I think this is the first one and I didn't really get it completely, but you can always take off the tape and add new tape and stick it in again. And then lastly, you have to go down and like this video, and thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna go park this thing in the garage and rip out the rear end so that we can put the M3 one in the next video. See ya.